Estamos en un tren hoy día en el zoológico del Bronx. Estamos
12 to 14 points on their antlers. So right here to my right, these exhibit hunts represent an important conservation story that includes the honey-colored barrel-scented deer.
The horn of a rhinoceros. In 1970, there were estimated to be only 66 of the barasingha deer remaining in central India. But this population was saved by the cooperation of the local Indian community. Like the shacks you see here, there were many small farms using space in and around India's Kanha National Park. These people were coming into contact with the deer and the tigers that were also living there. Through cooperation with the Indian government, local communities agreed to relocate their villages. By moving, the farmers still had land to farm, but the tigers and their prey got more room to roam.
Now I'm sure that we all know that a species that is extinct no longer exists, such as the dinosaur or the dodo bird. But in this next area, we will get a chance to see an animal that was on the verge of extinction. In fact, the Mongolian wild horse, or Przewalski's horse, was extinct in nature, and they can only be found in captivity. As we come around the corner, folks, our Mongolian wild horses are front and center, so have those cameras ready. These shots are going to be unforgettable. Now, Mongolian wild horses actually differ from domestic horses, both genetically and in appearance. They have a stockier build, shorter legs, and an erect mane which is missing the forelock. The pieces of the mane that falls over the forehead of a domestic horse. So it kind of makes them all look like they have mohawks. And no, they're not cut like that, they're all just born genetically awesome. Now recently there have been some reintroductions of Mongolian wild horses in several areas of Mongolia and China, from herds of North American and Asian zoos. Also, this species was the only true wild horse living today. Captive breeding of the Mongolian wild horses started with a group of 28 horses in 1901. And the Bronx Zoo received its first horses in 1902. We've actually kept up with them ever since. Now I'm going to play a little bit of history on the Mongolian wild horses, but that history is actually entwined with our own human history.
The first accounts of Mongolian wild horses come from rock engravings, paintings, and even cave drawings that date back more than 20,000 years. And the first written accounts were from Tibet, sometime around 900 AD. But these horses remained largely unknown and unnamed to the Western world for many years. During an expedition to Central Asia in 1879, a famous Russian explorer and naturalist, Colonel Nikolai Przewalski, encountered the horse in Western Mongolia. Because of his discovery, this species is also known as Przewalski's horse.
Although our field researchers find it very difficult to locate some of the animals in the wild that they would like to study, both myself and my fellow tour guide in the back, Stephanie, will actually have no problem pinpointing these animals for you guys today, even if they're not in plain sight. But just put yourself in their moves. Where would you want to go if you wanted a quiet place to rest, a shady spot, or even a little bit of grazing time? In this area, we're going to look out for two endangered species. The very first one is over there to the left along that fence, and that's our brown-antlered deer. And the brown-antlered deer get their name from the curved shape of the male deer's antlers. Currently classified as vulnerable, these deer are continuing to lose their wild space. But in many herds, they must resort to feeding on crops because their natural habitat has been taken over for farming. Right here in front of us, as you'll start to see through the trees, laying down, we have the gaur. The gaur are the largest wild cattle in the world. Males can weigh over 2,000 pounds, and at 6 feet tall and 10 feet long, that's actually as much as a small car. And with their large size and impressive horns, a male gaur can fight off just about anything, and that includes a tiger. What threatens these animals is the loss of their Asian habitat, but the diseases that can come along with domestic cattle. Now, in that group, there's actually a slightly larger, slightly darker male gaur, and that's our alpha male, and we call him Eddie Gaur. He's actually the proud father of 9 cats here at the Bronx Zoo that he was actually brought here for breeding purposes. Now, both the brown-headed deer and the gaur participate in what we like to call species survival plans. I'm going to play that for you guys now.
Here at the zoo, we help gaur and brown-antlered deer and many other species by participating in cooperative zoo management programs called species survival plans. The name says it all. The plans aim to help these animals survive. Zoos across the country work together to maintain genetically diverse populations of rare and endangered species.
Now it's easy to forget that the Bronx Zoo sits in the heart of an urban environment. But that loud roaring noise you guys are probably hearing behind you right now, that's not coming from an animal. It's coming from the Bronx Parkway. This fence directly here in front of us was actually put here to reduce all of this noise and absorb it from all of that city traffic so that the animals can feel right at home, especially this next one. As we come around the corner, I must remind everyone to please remain seated at all times with your hands and feet inside the cars, as you guys have actually been displaying so eloquently, as we're going to be on the lookout for Anakin, our Siberian tiger. He's actually, as soon as you come past that fence directly here in front of you guys, you'll start to look down to the right, you'll start to see Anakin. He's laying down. He's having a nice little rest in front of us. Tiger stripes provide excellent camouflage, which allows them to blend in with their environments, their backgrounds, and even their surroundings. This is why even professional researchers find it very difficult to locate them in the wild. Tiger stripes are kind of like fingerprints for humans, as no two tiger stripes are alike. They're all different. That's a way for our researchers to locate and study them in the wild. Now, tigers are actually solitary animals, which is why you'll only see one at a time in the exhibits. Also, tigers hunt a variety of animals, but they prefer, you guys have to have a seat back there. They prefer wild pig and medium-sized deer. And typically, a tiger will gorge itself on a fresh kill, eating as much as 40 pounds of meat at one time. That's actually the equivalent of 160 hamburgers. Now, even though I know a few of you have actually probably gotten close to that yesterday, that still doesn't amount. Now, if you guys want to see a few more about tiger species, you can always head over to Tiger Mountain. As you come around the corner, you start to see a few of those deer species that I told you guys about in the very first exhibit. And the first ones up, we have our spotted axis deer laying down right here as you come around the corner. And also we have India's national bird, the peafowl. Now, just in case you guys didn't know, the males are called peacocks and the females are called peahens. And they get together and they get really happy, they make little baby pea chicks. I usually call that area the dating area. That's because a lot of our male peacocks are usually trying to get the attention of quite a few female peahens. And even though it's usually to no avail, it still doesn't stop them from saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Now, these roads right here in front of us usually represent danger in the wild as they allow hunters and poachers into smaller and smaller areas of the wild. But these roads represent a way for our zookeepers to travel over the 40 acres of the Wild Asian Monorail exhibit. So with our animals, there's food, their toys, and even their treats. As we come around the corner and we come past the bamboo forest, you guys are going to be on the lookout for our male Barbarossa, and his name is Hickory. The word Barbarossa means pig deer in the Indonesian language, and they hail from the island of Sulawesi. Directly next to him is going to be Hillary, along with piglets, and with a little bit of fur on their skin that allows them to blend in very well with their rocky environments. Now, if you guys had any trouble seeing those last animals, you'll have absolutely no trouble seeing this next one. You guys gotta have a seat. Because here we have our two lovely large land animals, Patty and Maxine, our Asian elephants. Patty and Maxine are each in their mid-40s and they can live up to 60 years in the wild.
Elefantes.
Also, they weigh over 10,000 pounds apiece, so they have to eat lots of vegetation. But in addition to lots of fruits and veggies, our elephants can eat up to 200 pounds of hay each day, and they can drink up to 60 gallons of water. Also, that trunk of theirs is an incredible tool that has over 40,000 muscles in it. It has thus actually more than the entire human body. And they have a finger-like feature on the end of their trunk so they can use to grab small items, such as an egg without breaking it, or they can tear down a tree with enormous force. Now, both Patty and Maxine are very specially pampered here at the Bronx Zoo, and includes baths and pedicures twice a week. Now, I know that makes a few of the ladies on here jealous, and yes, they are free. Elephants will actually walk in excess of 30 miles in search of food and water in the wild. And so since they don't have that opportunity to do that here, we must simulate the wear and tear on their feet and their nails. And that's why they receive such pampering. And as we say goodbye to our two lovely large land animals, we're actually going to be on the lookout for our next lovely large lady, which is going to be Ella, our Indian rhinoceros. As we come around the corner, you're going to follow the dirt road straight to the back, and you'll see Ella. You actually see the rear end of Ella. I do apologize for that. But that is Ella, our Indian rhinoceros. We actually take care of 5 endangered rhinos here in the Bronx Zoo. We've actually had over 11 baby rhinos born right here at the Bronx Zoo. And speaking of, how many moms do we have on the train today? By a show of hands. Okay, I was totally unenthusiastic. Let's do that again. How many moms do we have on the train today? There we go. Well, get this, moms. A female rhinoceros is pregnant for 16 months. Can you imagine being pregnant for almost a year and a half?
Está preñada por
And then giving birth to anywhere from 100 to
16 meses.
150-pound bundle of joy?
16
Now,
meses.
I'm not sure what size pamper that is. I'm thinking it's like a 500. And then we're going to get a few chance to see Ella a little bit more through the trees. I do apologize for that. But you'll start to see her a little bit more as we head up.
Ahí está otro rinoceronte, mira ya.
Many people describe rhinos as armor-plated, but they actually are covered with a thin layer of skin that has a lot of folds. And what they will do actually is to protect their skin, they'll sit in these butt wallows right here, and they'll roll around and pack on a muddy coat, which will act like insect repellent. And that's a way for them to protect their skin from the sun and from insects. Now that mud wallow has been created since 1977 when the Wally's monorail first opened. I'm going to play a little bit of information and history on the horn of the rhinoceros. But I need you guys to please remember to keep your hands and your children's hands inside the train cars at all times, especially since we're about to pass some poison ivy patches.
Hay poison ivy,
Of
dice.
course, that always makes
Quita la mano.
everyone decide that they want to actually do
Saque la
it.
mano lo que es poison ivy.
The horn of a rhinoceros is very different from that of a
Yeah,
goat or
venenosa.
antelope. It is not attached to the skull. Rhino horn is made from compressed keratin fibers, the same material that is found in fingernails and hair. Although rhinos are a protected species, poaching still occurs. Rhinos are killed for their body parts, as some people believe that this horn had special medicinal powers. It is also used as an ingredient in some traditional Asian medicines, and the rhino horn is also prized in some cultures for making dagger handles.
In this area, we're going to be on the lookout for several species of deer, including an antelope. Asia is actually known for its largest number of deer and their deer diversity. In the center of the exhibit, in between those round fences, that's a few of our Formosan Sika deer. The Formosan Sika deer are native to the island of Taiwan, formerly known as Formosa. Overhunting and habitat loss has eliminated the lives of these wild herds in the early 1970s. Now they can only be found in zoos or national parks in Taiwan, where they were successfully reintroduced. Also, as we come around the corner, we're going to get a chance to see a few of our sandbar deer. And they're actually
Toto.
along this fence as we come around
Hola,
this
Toto.
corner. The sandbar deer are the largest deer in southern Asia. They stand up to 5 feet tall at the shoulders, and they can weigh as much as 650 pounds. That is very big. Now, I know some of you guys have actually been wondering throughout our tour why some of our trees are wrapped in wire. That's because a lot of the deer species tend to rub their horns and their antlers on the barks of the trees. Now, if too much bark is stripped, the trees can actually die and can provide our animals with much needed shade, habitat, and also a leafy food resource. So we animal-proof them by wrapping them in wire. The trees, not the animals. Now right here, to the far right side along those logs, we have a few of our hog deer. They get their name because they're short and heavy like hogs. They creep, run low, and duck under things rather than leaping over them like most other deer. Right here at the right side along this fence, we have a few of our nilgai antelope. And that's actually the male and the female. They're actually the largest of the Asian antelope species, and also the fastest. They can run up to 40 miles an hour. As we pass the double fences, we're actually going to be on the lookout for our hardest animal to find. And that's because in this area, at less than 40 pounds at full maturity, we're on the lookout for China's tufted deer. It's actually right there in the center of the exhibit, sitting right in the middle of the grass. And there's actually one that's actually on top of that rock in the back of that exhibit, right in front of that fence. It's actually very easy for them to blend in with their environments. It's very hard to spot them. They're also known as the vampire. They have elongated canine teeth that come down over the upper mandible, just like the white-tailed deer here in New York. The China tufted deer also have a white tail and rump, and they can use that during deer communication. They actually raise that tail to show a flash of light, which will signal danger to other deer. As we come around this corner, folks, we're going to be crossing over the Bronx River once again. but this time at our highest point of our journey, which is 35 feet above the water. The Wildlife Conservation Society knows how important it is to protect the Bronx River corridor and greenway. We want to make sure that the Bronx River remains a healthy resource that can be enjoyed by Bronx residents and local wildlife. To discover more about the Bronx River and local wildlife, be sure to visit the Mitsubishi Riverwalk, located along the edge of Parking Area B. Fellas, I'm going to need you to have a seat. Thank you very much. Now, in this new terrain, this rocky terrain area is the home of our Himalayan tar and also the Mongkor. They're the relatives of the wild goat. Now, the Mongkors have long spiral horns. They're very impressive. And the Himalayan tars have short curved horns that are triangular in shape, and they curve backwards and then inwards. But both the Mongkor and the Himalayan tars have special rubbery cores that help them grip the rocks, much like the soles of our boots. So it allows them to jump from rock to rock without slipping.
Wow.
And the Himalayan tars have well adapted to the mountain slopes and the woodlands of the Himalayas. Now, a few of our tars, if you can see in front of them, their fur is still a little bit rough. Kind of looks like they're in bad need of a comb and a beautician. That's because they're still shedding their winter coats, getting ready for those summer outfits that you and I are getting ready for. Otherwise, the only thing that we would have left is hot tar. Directly next to us, in front of this V-shaped tree, if you'll take a little small peek down, you'll get a chance to see our female red panda, and her name is Raymond. Once again, for the folks in the back, after you get past the V-shaped tree ahead of you, you're going to take a little peek down, and you're going to see our female red panda, and her name is Raymond. Now, red pandas are not actually closely related to the more famous giant black and white panda. The only thing that they actually share is a specialized diet of bamboo, especially with the word panda meaning bamboo eater. Red pandas are more closely related to skunks, raccoons, and you guys have got to have a seat. You'll apologize if you can't see the red panda the way you may have wanted to, but you can always head over to the Himalayan hiking exhibit, and that's located just a short walk from the mountain. Then you'll also get a chance to see Asia's largest cat.